In this video, I'll show you how you can create an engaging cinematic scene by following one simple trick that will totally change your approach on how to light and film from now on.
Damn it.
This video is not sponsored. I'm just using gear that I personally own. Everything I use in this video is linked below.
Now, the whole idea behind the scene was to establish the story by revealing the main character as well as the location in a very tense and interesting way. This old garage at my grandmother's house was perfect for that. It instantly makes the space feel real and slightly uncomfortable. Also, I had enough space outside of the garage to place my lights and camera, which made it easy to focus on my main goal of the shoot, revealing everything inside of the frame throughout the scene. So instead of lighting the actor first and pointing the cam straight onto him, I did something completely different. To understand what I mean, look at this shot. Usually we chase soft, natural looking light that evenly exposes our subject. And don't get me wrong, it looks great when you place a soft key light at a nice contrasty angle, just like in this shot or in this shot. But what separates those from a much more interesting image is something more aggressive. Hard backlighting to create maximum suspense. You may have noticed that the main light of this scene is positioned behind the character. And that's incredibly important because it establishes the location before it reveals the character. As you can see, the light only hits the floor, the outlines of the car, and the outlines of the workbench. Instead of clearly lit objects and characters, you see silhouettes. And hiding information like that, while still giving the viewer enough visual clues, is what really makes them engaged. For this specific backlight, I used the B500. And after trying different angles that all didn't really look too good, I ended up shooting through the door by just placing the light outside in the yard. This was by far the best position, as this was where the light hit the most relevant objects and gave the best edge light to me as the main subject of the scene. Even at just 22%, this thing was blasting through the pitch black night.
Look around how beautifully lit the whole location really is at just 22%. It's amazing. I don't know where. Ich weiß nicht wohin mit mir.
To create a strong base for color grading later on, I set the light to a cool 6500 Kelvin, which enhances the nighttime feeling with a subtle blue tone. No blue gel needed. Just set your white balance to something much lower, as I did here, to 3900 Kelvin for example. Because the light was positioned relatively far away from the character, I would say 25 to 30 feet or around 8 to 10 meters, it becomes very hard on the edges, which leads to not giving away his identity immediately. Remember, small light sources equals hard light. Large light source relative to the subject equals soft light. Another hard light source that I introduced was the flashlight. And this small detail actually does three important things. First, it adds movement to the lighting in what would otherwise be a very static setup. Second, it adds another layer of color contrast with its rather warm color temperature. And lastly, the moment the flashlight points directly towards the camera makes the viewer feel like they are physically inside the space, almost if you were hiding somewhere inside the garage with the character. Something that I really wanted the viewer to feel. Another element that helped the overall atmosphere was adding haze. It allows both the backlight and the flashlight to really spread across the whole space. With it, everything really comes together as a whole ambience, which really makes the scene feel even more cinematic. Now, let's talk about the camera real quick. I shot this on my Sony a7S III with a 24 to 70mm lens set to 70mm at f2.8 aperture. To soften the highlights and give the image a slightly creamier look in camera, I also used a 1/8 black pro mist filter. You saw it already. I decided to do the shot on a tripod, but as the character moves forward, the camera starts pointing at the floor and then slowly tilts upward, revealing both the location and the character step by step. This simple move instantly makes the shot more engaging because it's very easy to follow with your own eyes. One final touch completes the whole setup. You see, because I wanted to reveal the character from not seeing him at all to seeing a silhouette to actually seeing his face, I had to position the lights, especially the last one, accordingly and time every step right. When he stops right in front of the camera, I needed one last light to give away his identity by showing his face. For this, I used the Molis M20C, which I mounted directly to the open garage door above the character, which basically mimics a small practical light bulb that might hang inside a garage like this. And because this light source is extremely small, it creates very hard shadows in the face and on the body, which adds to the overall vibe. I set this light much warmer than the backlight to 4200 Kelvin at 19% intensity. So while the environment stays in the cool blue nighttime atmosphere, the character gets a warmer tone. And even though the white balance was set even below that, it still looked good on the monitor, which is why I left it like this. That contrast between the cool backlight and the warm key light is what made my color grading work so well in post. First, I converted the S-Log footage to Rec. 709. This immediately reveals how the white balance and the backlight shape the image, giving the scene its cool blue nighttime base. Next, I adjusted the color wheels. I slightly lowered shadows and highlights while adding some saturation to create a clean, contrasty foundation. Then I added DEHANCER Pro with the codec 2383 film print. This really doubles down on this blue and orange separation we already created with the lighting and adds more cinematic contrast using the expand tool. After that, I fine-tuned the skin tones. I slightly reduced the reds using color curves and lowered the highlights just a bit to keep the skin softer while preserving the hard shadows. To me at this point, the background blue was a bit too unrealistic, so I also reduced the saturation here and made it a little more teal. And to push the focus more towards the character, I added a subtle vignette. Finally, I added bloom and grain in DEHANCER Pro. The image looked good before, but also a little too clean for my taste. Grain and bloom make the image feel rougher and closer to real film. I mean, look at the before and after. What a huge difference. So, breaking the whole sequence down, it's actually very simple to recreate in terms of gear that I used, as long as everything is done with intention. Even though I've gotta admit that the process took a little while, since I had to do the movement over and over again until we got it just the way we wanted it. The haze machine was also messing up our shots a couple of times with its random farts.
Der hat jetzt nochmal nachgepupst, der Haze-Ding. Jetzt sieht aus, als ob der Stuhl brennt.
But yeah, that's the trick behind many cinematic scenes. Controlling what the viewer sees and when they see it. Now, that's it for this one, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace.